Hello and welcome to the Aircraft Global Market Update. It's Friday, September 8th, 2023, and this is your weekly update on aircraft inventory and the used aircraft market in general. As always, if you like these videos, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, share them as much as possible so that we can get the algorithm to spread this out and help this market return to where we all need it to be, which is to go down because it is continuing to be stubbornly high. The news hasn't changed much from our last cycle. In fact, some of these articles we're not even going to update just because the overall sentiment remains the same. We're starting to see consumer confidence go down. This is one new update as of this week. Folks had pretty high confidence in this year overall. And now that's starting to change. And usually when consumer confidence goes down, that's when things really start to take a dive. So we're still anticipating that to come. Europe has all but erased its gains this year as its economic certainty grows. We're starting to see backlogs of trucks and other vehicles on car lots because Americans are no longer springing into action to purchase their next vehicle. And this is a really important article on the right side here, especially for the more expensive luxury aircraft market like jets and turboprops. For the first time since 2018, the global ultra-wealthy population, which is anyone with a net worth of more than $30 million, aka your jet buyers, that is shrinking for the first time since 2018. And so, well, at least I guess you're more expensive jet buyers. So yeah, 5.4%, that's a pretty big drop. It's pretty significant. And that I would imagine is certainly going to impact the aviation markets. We're still leaving the Trump tax cuts expiration up there because that's just going to continue to have an overall influence unless that changes. There is some legislation going through right now. Potentially, they are going to try to extend those tax cuts, which we're talking about bonus depreciation. Right now, you can depreciate 80% of an asset put into business use in the first year, aka airplanes. And of course, after this year, that goes down to 60%. It was 100% just a couple years ago. So it's going to continue to go down, and that is also going to decrease the reason or desire folks are going to have to make these expensive purchases if they can't offset their gains in any other way. Metals are continuing to rise and rally. U.S. futures slip. Now we're starting to hear maybe the Fed will have another rate hike towards the end of this year, and maybe another 25 basis points or so, maybe more, maybe less, but we don't know. We'll have to wait and see. That is also holding markets back right now and giving folks a little bit of pause. And then if you look at the right, this intraday indicator shows the stock market is the most overvalued it has been since the dot-com bubble crash. This is important because a lot of high wealth, high net worth individuals' net worth is dependent on the stock market, dependent on loans and leveraging to grow and expand their businesses. And when we talk about wealthy, I mean, we're not just talking about people with jets. We're talking about people, Cirruses are $1 million aircraft, SR22s. You have to be a very wealthy individual to afford $1 million aircraft. And right now, we're starting to see some issues with wealth and downturns in wealth. So is that a sign of things to come? I don't know. Market overall really hasn't changed. It looks like you see a little dip here, but believe it or not, I had to redo this spreadsheet 4 times while prepping for this video because every time I hit the refresh button, 5 more aircraft came back onto the market. Again, I think this is a function of there are so many aircraft for sale every day. There are dozens of them expiring on controller, and then people call in to renew their listings, and then they go back live on controller. So just in the short time I was putting this together, it was 4640, then 4650, then 4660. I haven't hit the refresh button in a couple of hours, but we may be back up in the 70s now. I'm sure an aircraft or two sold. I mean, that's just going to be every week, no matter what. But what we see here is if you throw a regression line on this overall, we have a pretty significant trend towards the upward position. Now, maybe we're plateauing at the top here. We'll have to see this for a couple more weeks, what exactly that looks like. But for now, I mean, a regression line looks something like that. And if this continues to flutter there, well, then maybe we're topping out. But I don't see any indication we're making a turn for the down, or I don't see any values in aircraft. Not a lot of value at this point. So not a whole lot of reasons to buy. 172s holding out at 14, 182s right around lower 20s. Cirrus SR22s. My gosh, I would not want to own one of these right now. I feel for you folks to own one of these. And how do you differentiate your SR22 amongst 281 others that are for sale? It's nearly impossible. These are going to have to be given away at some point, and that's going to be some really good buys and good values for some people, but it's going to be some real value destruction for others. So kind of sad to see, but it's the nature of supply and demand. Still 10 TTXs for sale. They haven't moved at all. 34 Meridians holding strong. 46 TBMs, another TBM added to the market. And remember, this is kind of a false number. I don't think we were capturing all the TBMs before. They've probably been in the 40s the whole time here. Ravens, high 50s, low 60s. Did some expire? Did somebody acquire some? We don't know. We don't have that kind of visibility, and controller doesn't provide that. I wish they would. I wish they'd tell you if something sold or somebody just delisted something, kind of like it happens in the housing market. High 40s to low 40s. Maybe Robinson R66s are moving. Maybe since there's 40 of them on the market, people are just taking them off. It's hard to say, but 40 is a lot. How many people? Are there 40 buyers out there for a very light, small turbine helicopter? I don't know, especially when you throw the 505 in there. Now we're saying 56 people. 505s don't look like they're moving much. 407s are holding at 20. And the Augusta Grand, 18, 18, 18, no sales at all, dead. Bell 429 holding at 7. Look, that's still a very rare machine, so there's just not going to be any deals to be had really on that for a while, unless folks want to move their machine and move on to something else. And now we'll move into the jets here. The SF-50 Vision Jet, same story as their single engine aircraft. Ton of them on the market. No one wants them. It's a $3 million single engine jet that underperforms the Citation Mustang, which is $1 million less. Yeah, it's used, but my humble opinion is that the Mustang is safer. You have an extra engine and a little bit more room. So I personally would rather have a Mustang and save money if I was in that market. Phenom 100s, high 20s. That's just kind of where that market sits, not moving either. Honda Jets increasing, 21 in inventory. And let's see, the M2 looks like some might have moved. I think we did talk last week or the week before. We did see an M2, one or two of them sell, and they were the only ones that were on the market with good value. So that might make sense that one or two of those have moved, but what's remaining, I don't see much of a value in. Are they going to move? Are they not? I don't know. It depends on how desperate buyers and sellers are. CJ3s, 13. That's a pretty decent size number for such an expensive jet. CJ4s, 16. That's a huge number for such an expensive jet, especially when they're trying to sell these for $13 million brand new. There's going to be some massive headwinds there, ladies and gentlemen, if we're already having trouble selling trucks at car lots. So my opinion is that this market is going down. All right, what do we got here? The Phenom 300 just sitting in the low 20s. A lot of these are real high time aircraft that no one really wants. So 4,660, that's your market. And this is kind of what it looks like in numbers. It looks like Cirrus jets are coming down. We saw them peak at 39, and now they're down to 32. I don't know if any sales happened there, or people just took their aircraft off because there's 30 other jets that are being put for sale there. The Phenom 100, same thing. Did people just decide, I'm just going to put this thing back to work? It's hard for me to imagine that maybe 10 of these sold in the last 2 months. Maybe they did, but the values aren't there. The market's changing. It's hard to see. Really wish we had that insight and transparency in the aviation market. Everything else is just kind of flatlining or slowly increasing. Looks like maybe a couple Phenom 300s moved. Otherwise, a pretty stagnant market overall. Helicopter, Again, just kind of floating. These markets aren't moving down much. It does look like Robinson R66s are coming down a little bit, but we don't know if that's a listing or an expiration issue. Everything else, 407s, Augustas, 429s, 505s, flatline. Single engine inventory, you just have to feel sorry for the Cirrus SR22 up there. How are we going to sell 282 of these? Are there 282 buyers out there for $500,000 to $1.5 million aircraft, dollar aircraft? I don't know. Really big number. Everything else flatlining as well, though. 46 TBMs and 34 or 22 meridians. That's a lot. 34 meridians and it looks like 22 Cessnas. Yeah. So single engine turboprops. We got, what is that? 70, 80 of those on the market. That's quite a bit. All right. Jumping into values. We changed our spreadsheet a little bit this week to make it a little more transparent. Again, this is all our opinion. This is us trying to value aircraft away from the special interests. We're not paid for this. We receive not a dime to do this video. We're in the market just like you, trying to help others, trying to help ourselves, and we can't make any moves with the lack of value. The prices are just absolutely outrageous right now. So that's what we're trying to do. Send us information, post comments. What did you pay for your aircraft? Send us purchase agreements. Help us gain transparency that we can put into this video and create an information cooperative so that we can have real estate-like information in the aviation markets. So these are our estimates for what aircraft costs new. We're able to get some data, not on others. Most of this is published in magazines. And then, of course, people get deals from that. No one usually pays sticker price for aircraft, with the exception of some years where they're in very high demand. So I would expect a lot of these numbers to be high. And then some years where they had to be interpolated, maybe they're just a little off because we didn't have the data. Coming down here, we decided to put everything that we put into the calculations into this upper block up here. So we show about what we depreciate an aircraft per year. And this has been our historical experience. If you track these aircraft over a 10 to 15 year period, this is what they settle to over a period of time. This is not making stuff up. Again, it's our opinion, but we think our opinion is pretty sound. Hourly depreciation, jets are on programs. They don't depreciate very much per hour, but they do depreciate. Helicopters absolutely depreciate because they're not usually on programs. And then single engine aircraft, pistons and all that, of course, they depreciate. And then, of course, aircraft seem to stop at some point. You know, Mustangs seem to drop to about 65% of their value. Cessna TTXs, they're rare. Look at that, highest on this chart. Our historical experience, having flown and acquired and been a part of the deal on several of them, they seem to settle right around 78% of their value. They hold their market. And you'll notice we're missing some aircraft here. We don't have the SR22 in here. There's just too many of them for us to track. Plus, candidly, never been a part of that market. So I don't want to give you information I don't know anything about. This market you see here is stuff that we have experience with, a decent amount of experience. So once we start to gain more information from you and get it into these videos, we can start adding other aircraft that you may not see here. So this is for a 500-hour aircraft. They become toxic, in our opinion, after about 3,000 hours. No one wants them. And historically, 5-10 years ago, it was hard to get rid of a Mustang. I think that'll return at some point. 5 or 10 years ago, it was really, 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 really hard to get rid of a CJ4. I think that's going to return. And then a Piper Meridian, I think that will return as well. There's just a lot of them on the market, and there's most people that get there kind of tend to skip it and go to something else like a small jet. And then there's so many other options now with TBM and Kodiaks and Caravans. You know, I know they're all different buckets, but they all pull, you know, your typical turbine buyer away from a one choice or another. All right, we'll jump to the next page. This is the inflation at 15%. So you're going to see this number change here. And so 15%. So if you were looking at some numbers, you can pause the screen, rewind the video. We're going to jump through these. Ultimately, we use these to assign a value to what we believe the aircraft in this presentation are worth. So we're going to go to the next one. This is back to 110% inflation with 1,000 hours on airframe. Now we're at 115 hours with 115% inflation with 1,000 hours on the airframe. All right, moving along. Now we're back to 110% inflation with 1,500 hours and 115% inflation now at 1,500 hours. And so what this is really for is you got to decide when you're valuing an aircraft, or do you want to give it a 10% adjustment for inflation, or do you want to give it a 15% adjustment for inflation? Honestly, every aircraft is different. I will tell you that right now, TTXs are probably closer to 115%. I will tell you that Mustangs, where people are trying to sell them, is closer to the 115%. I will tell you newer M2s are falling basically to flat, and that's because they're new and they're only sold for a specific price, brand new, and you can't really ask for inflation on top of that when we're talking about the here and the now. So these are actually below 110, kind of closer to 100, where they actually are kind of placed in the market. And for right now, those are kind of the decent values that are out there. All right, so moving into our inventory, it's going to be a fairly short video because not much has changed from this week to last week, or last week to this week. This aircraft went down by $20,000. It's still at a 16.3% premium. Controller doesn't even show it when you drop a price. So I don't know why they did that. It's not really, it's not a great marketing attempt. I don't think, I don't know. But I still think that aircraft is quite significantly overpriced. This aircraft right here, the 2008, my favorite, the most beautiful aircraft inside and out, I still believe is going for a very heavy premium, because they owe so much money on their programs on this. And that just takes, to me, I don't want to deal with that someday, whether it's going to be me or the next owner. The next guy I try to sell it to is going to have the same issue I have. And that is, there's lots of money sitting that have to be paid at some point on this aircraft. So to me, it ruins the paint job. It ruins the inside. I don't want to deal with it. And I think that's why it's still sitting on the market. 28.8% premium on this 2008 with almost 3,000 hours. Yikes. They're trying to ask over $2 million for something that, a few hundred hours from now is going to, in my opinion, be unsellable. And real value, our opinion, the fair market value, in our humble opinion, is about $1.75 million. 2008 Citation Mustang listed at 2.05, 17% premium, unchanged. All these are unchanged from last week to this week. This is November 280 Alpha Zulu, 2,500 hours. And November 79 Sierra Golf, 3,700 hours. I mean, this is going to be the last one to go, especially with over a $2 million price tag. Not going to happen, in my opinion. 30.1% premium. This aircraft's worth about 1.6. 2008 Citation Mustang. This is green from last week to this week. This, I believe, is the only Mustang that we believe has a reasonable value in the market. This has programs. It's paid up. Now, we did call on this aircraft, and kind of a weird story. They told us that there are some issues with the aircraft, but wouldn't really tell us what those issues are. We're going to try to dive in and get some more information, have that for next week. And again, don't misquote us here or them. We don't know the story of this, but if it's a good aircraft and there's no issues of any kind, this is a good price. Just 4.1% premium. If you can get them to come down just 70 grand, we think you've got a decent price on that aircraft. All right, moving along to M2s. Not much talk about here. This was here last week for $4.25 million, a 2017 M2 with 800 hours. We believe this is more like a $3.4 million aircraft, 26.8% premium. Then there's a 2017 with 268 hours on it, listed at $4.5 million, November 10 Mike Delta. We believe that is one of the heftiest premiums of all of them, if not the heftiest premium. 32.3 hours. That is a 6 to 7 year old aircraft now. And yeah, 3.4 million is plenty. When new, I mean, we went over it last time. We won't check it out this time, but new, I think that's basically what they're asking for, is like new pricing. All right, 2016 for $4.25 million, November 933 Romeo Golf, unchanged again from last week to this week. We believe it's a 28.8% premium, $3.35 million. Here's a new listing. Is it worth looking at? No, it's a 2022, just 1 year old, or two if it was produced in 2021. There are 600 hours, which is, we start really devaluing things over 2,000 hours, and that's a quarter of that life right there. Well, we believe this aircraft's worth around $5.4 million, which sets this at a 19% premium. So not much to discuss there. And this is where we can go back to that spreadsheet, and we will show it on this one, on these two new aircraft. So 2022s, and we've got one that has, let's say, 88 hours and one that has 600 hours. So obviously, we'll value the one with 88 for more, even though they have their aircraft listed for less. Isn't that interesting? One's in Oklahoma, one's in Indiana. So we'll go back to the 500-hour mark. We'll go to 110% inflation. We'll go to 2022. This aircraft, brand new, was $5.855 million. Brand new, just a year ago. Why would I pay more? Why would I not just buy something for brand new? And even us sitting here putting this at $6 million, I would reduce this to 100%. You don't give inflation on adjustments on something that was produced last year. That's why you see a different valuation for us in that chart. I would have changed that number to 100%. So here we are. Yeah, we think 5.45 million. This one's slightly better, so 5.5. But even that, we're new prices basically, and there's going to be new 2023s coming out that people don't want, and they're going to be around the same price, I would think. So we just don't see the value there on either of these aircraft. I think they're really high, 19 and 11% respectively. And then just like last week, we have one decent valued M2 on the market, assuming this has programs and everything has been paid for and is up to date. This is a 5.1% premium at 5.15 million. You can get them to come down to 4.9. That would be a decent price for that aircraft. Okay, I just double checked on this 2016, and it is on programs. Tap Blue, fully funded. I guess it says it right here. I didn't even have to task over. Oh, sorry, wrong one. We got to go down to this guy. I got to check this one. We're going to pause the video real quick so you don't have to go with me. Okay, our apologies there again. This is a premium. Don't listen to us on that one. We checked this one just now. This aircraft is on programs, fully funded. And so we maintain our position. This is a decent buy. It's real close. It is actively flying, though. Depends on how quickly these numbers sail up. For right now, you can get them down to 4.9. That's a decent price for that aircraft. Okay, moving along to the next M2 page. Not much to talk about here. 2019, last time we checked, 4.825 million, still a 13.5% delta on that. And this 2018 with 630 hours, a 38% delta. We believe this is a $3.4 million machine. Moving on to CJ3s. Nothing really new here. This is a misprint on this highlight. This is not a good deal. We decided to kind of create some color coding, and over double digits, so anything over 9.9% should be red. So I'm just going to kind of cross this out here because that is that's not a great price for that aircraft in our opinion. But this should be green. So 2018 Cessna CJ3, 7.9 million. You can get them down to 7.4, just 7.8% premium. That is still a reasonable price like it was last week. This 2018 is unchanged, 8.9% premium. I suppose that should be green as well, 7.3 million. If you can get them to sell you that aircraft somewhere in the low sevens, below 7.9, we think it's a good value, our opinion. And then this one, a 29.6% premium, not a great value in our humble opinion. And now we're into the Phenom 300s. Market is unchanged from last week. We'll just leave this up on a screen for a second, then continue. Everything's at least a 16.8% premium all the way up to a 32.8% premium. In our opinion, these are high $5 to mid $6 million machines, not high $6 to almost $9 million machines. They've got a lot of hours on them, and folks are not going to pay that for these, I don't think. CJ4, unchanged again from last week. 23% is your best premium in this market, in our opinion, all the way up to 42.4%, asking $9.8 million for an aircraft we think should fetch $6.9 million. And if it's not now, that's what it's going to fetch, in our opinion, a couple years from now. So we would not be looking for an aircraft at these kinds of premiums for that market. Okay, and that's it now. We're going to go ahead and go through the inventory of aircraft. We'll scroll through them for you and let you see what's available this week in the market. Feel free to end the video here, or if you want to go back and look and see any aircraft that have moved, you can do that for the rest of the video. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to start with jets. So many Cirrus Vision jets. Wow. Okay, and that's it for the jet market. Now we'll check into the helicopter market. 100 listings for sale. And keep in mind, too, this is a cross section of the most important helicopters, as was jets. Not every jet for sale on the market. Cross section of the most common ones folks are most interested in. All right, and that's it for the helicopter market. Now moving on to the fixed wing market. We're going to go through this fast because there are 406 listings. So many SR22s. Maybe we'll break SR22s out into another list so it's not so overwhelming next week to look at the fixed wing market snapshot here. Just think we're going to spend over half of our time in reviewing the single engine market here, going through SR22s. That's the sheer number of SR22s there are for sale right now. It's incredible. All right, halfway done with the single engine market, airplane market here. Still SR22s. It's the never-ending list. Can you imagine trying to sell one of these? Being in the middle or the bottom of that never-ending list? All right. Just over 50 to go. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks a lot for watching. And we look forward to you joining us again next week for next week's market update. Take care.